one little piece of educational stuff going on, because I'm always learning from doing this channel. I'm always learning certain things, and something just kept telling me like something's wrong. I need to investigate this. So one thing that just happened in Minnesota, this came over on Sunday, February 15th, but Minnesota judge blasts ICE for blocking immigrants' access to attorneys. Okay. Federal judge in Minnesota issued an order February 12th blasting U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement for barring immigration detainees from their constitutional right to access counsel. Now, I thought myself, what rights does an illegal alien have under the United States Constitution? I mean, they don't have any rights, of course, right? I mean, that just makes sense. Why would you have any rights from our Constitution if you're here illegally? And I thought, all right, well, when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And I'm here to admit that I was wrong. But kind of continue with the story, and we'll get to why I was wrong. But U.S. District Judge Nancy Brazil's 41-page ruling comes in response to a lawsuit brought by the Advocates for Human Rights, a nonprofit that works with immigrants. The group accused ICE of obstructing access to their clients. Brazil's order mandates ICE take several steps to ensure immigrants and their lawyers can talk. Okay, so again, I didn't think they had rights, but here we go. Here's the report. Here's what I got going on with all of the stuff that I was looking into. All right. So again, I wasn't right. I was wrong. Here you go. Here's your learning. So here we go. This is why I was wrong, and this is what I learned. This is why I do this channel. Undocumented immigrants, also illegal immigrants in the United States, do have several constitutional rights, even though they lack lawful status and many citizenship-specific privileges. The U.S. Constitution frequently uses the term person rather than citizen in key protections. And Supreme Court precedent has consistently held that most fundamental rights apply to all individuals physically present in the United States, regardless of immigration status. This stems from landmark cases and interpretations of the Due Process Clause, or the Fifth Amendment, and Equal Protection Clause, the 14th Amendment, which protect persons within U.S. jurisdiction. Now, here are the key constitutional rights that apply. Due process rights. This is the Fifth and the 14th Amendments. Undocumented immigrants cannot be deprived of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. This includes the right to a fair hearing before deportation, protection against arbitrary detention, and the ability to challenge unlawful government actions. The Supreme Court has repeatedly affirmed that due process applies to aliens who have entered the United States, whether lawfully or unlawfully. And also equal protection under the law, which is the 14th Amendment. States cannot arbitrarily discriminate against undocumented immigrants in ways that lack a substantial jurisdiction or justification. A major example is Plyler versus Doe in 1982, where the Supreme Court ruled that states cannot deny free public K-12 education to children based on their or their parents' undocumented status, as this violates equal protection. Freedom of speech, freedom of speech, religion, and assembly under the First Amendment. These protections generally apply to all persons in the United States, allowing undocumented immigrants to express views, practice religion, and peacefully assemble. Protection against unreasonable searches and seizure, which is obviously the Fourth Amendment. Undocumented immigrants are protected from unreasonable government searches, though border-related exceptions in certain immigration enforcement contexts can limit the practical scope. Protection against cruel and unusual punishment, which is the Eighth Amendment. This applies to criminal context and an undocumented immigrant is prosecuted for a crime. Criminal procedure rights. Now, this is when facing criminal charges, not just immigration proceedings. If charged with a crime, they have rights like the right to remain silent, protection against self-incrimination, and in most cases, the right to government-provided attorney under the Sixth Amendment. Now, it's important to understand important rights that generally do not apply or can be limited. This is no right to vote in federal, state, or most local elections, no right to run for most public offices, no automatic right to government-appointed counsel in immigration or deportation proceedings, unlike in criminal cases, though they can hire their own lawyer or seek pro bono help. No right to remain in the U.S. indefinitely. The government retains broad authority to deport them after due process. Limited access to certain public benefits, as in many federal welfare programs, though this is often statutory rather than purely constitutional. So in summary, The Constitution draws a line between citizens who enjoy the fullest set of rights, including political participation, and non-citizens who still receive core protections as persons within the U.S. country. The Supreme Court has emphasized that presence in the United States, even unlawful presence, triggers many of these safeguards to prevent arbitrary government power. But this framework has remained stable through decades of case law, including decisions from the 1890s, which is Yick Wo versus Hopkins, to more recent affirming ones, due process in removal contexts. So there you go. Again, I thought that, hey, this is just not a thing that they have. They can't do anything about it. They're out. They're gone. But no, there's your education lesson for today. I learned something. Did you? Drop a comment. But that's the truth. Between lines. Between the lines.